Hey, this is Ben coming at you with a preview of my preview. It just previewed Chandra, so I'm in that mode still. Still disappointed from that, from M14 Chandra that was just spoiled a few minutes ago. But this is a summary of the rankings of my draft cards in the black section. So I've done white and blue already. So what I'm doing is just going through the list and looking at how highly people are drafting my cards on the CubeTutor website, because I can rank them from top to bottom. So this is just kind of a comparison for where I think the cards should be ranked compared to how people are actually drafting them. So again, this is the most drafted cards as done by everybody on the CubeTutor site for my cube. So the most drafted card in black is Liliana the Veil. I really don't have an argument with Liliana being the most drafted black card because she's awesome. Personally, if it was me, I would have Mind Twist first just because it's more splashable, and I would normally take it higher, especially if don't have black as a main color and it's pack 2 or 3 and I see Mind Twist and I can splash for it, then that's a card I look to splash for as often as I see it. So personally, if it was my most drafted cards, Mind Twist would be first, Liliana would be second, but I really don't have any argument with having Liliana first because they're both awesome cards. Seeing Bob next is really good. I mean, Bob's great. I've been drafting him a lot more recently. In my real life drafts, I feel like he goes a lot later than this ranking here. I feel like I see him super late in my real life drafts, which is why I've probably been using him so much lately. Grave Titan, the best finisher in the cube at 5. That seems fine. I mean, it's hard to take a 6-drop so high, but when it's a 6-drop, that's just, to me, it's the best finisher in the cube. It's great. Recurring Nightmare is a great build-around card. Having Demonic Tutor on here as well, and because giving you 2 copies of all your cards for 2 mana is sweet. This is a card that I'm surprised is ranked this high. Part of it's probably coming from my bias because I really like Damnation a lot in my black control decks. The only 2 black Wrath effects are Damnation and Black Sun Zenith, and this is the only straight black Wrath. Black Sun Zenith, you might need a ton of mana to kill their big guys or whatever, but this, it's 4 mana, Wrath the board. It's sweet. So part of that's probably my fault for having it so high on the list, but honestly, I would not have it this high if I was doing my rankings, but I guess it shows how much both I and other people think of Damnation. Thoughtseize, I'm surprised that this is this high. I don't draft this card that highly. That's probably my fault because it's a 1 mana card that steals their best non-land card from their hand, and it's just sweet. Then Pack Rat, how about that? Pack Rat from the most recent block coming in at number 9. Pack Rat is sweet. If I'm black at all, I just try and grab this card and then maybe even move to black aggro or some sort of mid-range or something just because it can win the game on its own. And if you've never cast Pack Rat on turn 1, you haven't lived because it's sweet. Just dropping it on turn 1 with a Mox or any sort of fast mana and then just start making rats. It's awesome. Reanimate goes well in the Reanimate deck. Goes well. It's just a good black card. Yeah, the life loss can hurt, but otherwise it's just a great card. So overall in the top 10, I guess I really don't have a ton of argument with it. Again, if it was me, I would have Liliana second behind Mind Twist, but I don't think that's necessarily a power level thing because I think they're both very powerful. It's just in how highly I would draft them. I would have Mind Twist as the most drafted card. So that's the top 10. Let's look at the next 10 here. So Bitter Blossom at 12. So that seems about right for where it should be. How about Shriekmaw at 13? That seems way high, like at least 10 to 15 spots too high. Being able to evoke it's pretty strong, but that seems really high. The only thing probably holding him to Turak to this low of a ranking is the double black cost. I'm sure if it was 1 black, I mean, it would already be more broken than it currently is. But I think the double black is very scary because I know there are a lot of times I see it in these online drafts or even in real life drafts, and if I'm not at least middle to slightly heavier black, then I don't take it. How about Grizzlebrand at 17? Coincidentally next to Entomb, but that seems way too high for Grizzlebrand. I guess it does fit in with what Black's trying to do with the Reanimate strategy, and I guess it shows how much a lot of people don't have this card in their cube. And again, I run 540 and it's in my cube, but it's been really good. And if nothing else, it's an archetype. It's not an enabler, but it's like the best card you can grab for Reanimator or any other strategy like that. Or like Sneak Attack. I mean, Sneak Attack with Grizzlebrand is sweet. Swing in for 7, draw 7 or 14 cards. I think that's too high though. But I guess if you're in the Reanimate deck, if you don't see an Enabler and you see Grizzlebrand in the pack, then you should take Grizzlebrand, even if it's like second or third pick. So I guess that explains what it is, but I'm just surprised to see it so high. Like to see Braids at 20. That doesn't get drafted as often. The Archetype, the black shutdown deck, but I do have Braids and Smokestack and Nether Void all in my cube to try and help support that. So next 10, Abyssal Persecutor's been doing a lot of work in the cube, so I'm happy to see where it is. Wow, people really love these cards. The Grizzlebrand being up in the top 20, and now Shieldred at 26. How about Urborg at 28? That was a card I added recently when I added the Pox package. I've honestly cut all the Pox cards except for Smallpox, but Urborg has been quite popular with my draft group, and I do think this draft ranking is a little high, but the power of just being able to curve out like Island, Urborg, and then cast like Geralf's Messenger or Necropotence is just really sweet. And it just turning everything to swamps is just really strong. So that is a high ranking, but I am glad I have it in the cube, and I don't see taking it out even with all the changes. Just because a lot of black's cards, I mean, they all have double black or triple or quad black in the casting cost. So Urborg is a welcome card. Phyrexian Arena is definitely underrated. I would put that in the top 20, maybe the top 15. Just being able to draw an extra card every turn is really good. So that's undervalued to me. So the next 10. So here's the other Liliana at 38. A lot of people don't like her, and I see her going really late on the CubeTutor drafts that I do. But I think she's good. She doesn't go in every deck, but again, the heavy black decks and her second ability giving +X, not everybody realizes that when you're in the middle of a game, you're just so focused on it as a removal spell. Sometimes you lose sight of the fact that it can just pump your guy and win the game. I know that's happened to me a couple times. And it's as soon as you pass the turn, you realize the mistake you made. Or your opponent does the same thing. You see your opponent, they could just win the game if they pump their creature, and they don't. So I think that's about a pretty accurate reflection of where she should be. Bloodgift Demon, that's a little high for Bloodgift Demon, a card that I feel is just, when it was spoiled, we were all really excited for it. But overall, it's just been okay. I mean, the black 5-drop section with that and with Obnixilis is just in Shriek Maul. It's fine. So looking at the next 10, Fleshbag Marauder is another recent inclusion that's been doing quite well, especially if you can get like a Mimic Vat or Recurring Nightmare or anything else like that. It's really sweet. Living Death is another fun build-around card that people have been doing recently, especially if you can have an enabler, just a way to get a bunch of stuff in your yard to get started, like a Numinous Prowler or Psychotog, and then cast Living Death and you just crush your opponent. It's great. Innocent Blood is another recent addition to the cube. It was in for a long time, got cut for about 6 months, and now it's back in, and it's been doing some work. Hypnotic Spectre, that's a low ranking, but I think it's accurate. I guess all these are accurate, but I feel like this is an accurate representation about where it typically gets drafted, because the bottom line, it's a 2/2 flyer for 3 that has to hit your opponent to be valuable. And with all the big powered creatures today, especially the big flyers, it doesn't stack up as well as it did 15 years ago. How about Dark Ritual at 50? That seems really low. Fast mana just should be always much higher. So getting into a lot of the little more sketchy cards, like there's Nether Void. It's just the black aggro archetype does not get drafted as often. Seeing Gravecrawler there at 52nd. Sinkhole, I'm still not sure about it in the cube, but I guess just giving black a way to destroy a land, a direct way to destroy a land versus the sacking effects, I think is relevant to get rid of the Maze of Ith or the library or something. There's Obnixilis. I saw him do 21 damage just last night, so that was pretty cool. So next 10, a lot of these are just the black aggro cards. Black aggro is criminally underdrafted in my cube, and probably a lot of cubes as well. Just looking here, all 1 and 2 drop guys. This is all the black aggro cards minus Necropotence, which probably should be a little higher, but the triple black I'm sure holds it back. But outside of this, and then Drops Messenger is a triple black card, everything else is a 1 and 2 drop black aggro card. So, same with the last two. Wow. Dalthy Marauder I think is fine just being a shadow guy. Being able to get in there for 3 damage is pretty relevant, especially with the sword. But the bottom, if we go start at 60 with Nezumi Grave Robber, of the bottom 13 cards, 12 of them are black aggro cards. Wow. That's really eye-opening. 12 of the bottom 13 drafted black cards in my cube are black aggro. So maybe that's a sign that black aggro people just don't want to draft it. Regardless of how good it is, if people don't want to draft something, then does it really matter? That's why in green, and I'll talk about it when I get to the green section, but I really support the super ramp strategy because it's really popular. And a card like Prime Speaker Zagana, which has been in the cube a little bit, I feel like it's fine, but it could get cut just because the casting cost is so greedy. I think my play group would have a revolt if I cut the Prime Speaker. I think it's like the 4th best Simic card, but it just shows that is what's popular with my group, and the card is cubable, so it stays in the cube. I guess that ties into this. Like, these cards are all good enough to be cubed, especially like Bloodghast and Blood Scrivener, and just the 1-drop guys, which are just necessary, the Carnophage. But people just aren't drafting it. Maybe my next couple drafts in real life, I should start playing black aggro, trying to force it a little more. Maybe go black-red or black-white aggro, and just see how it does. See if I can make it work and kind of show people the value of the black 1 and 2 drops. So I can't tell you how many times I've gotten one of the black 1 drops last pick in the cube. Dozens of times. And we only draft like twice a week. Dozens of times I've gotten it last pick. So that's kind of a summary of the black section overall. I guess I really don't have a lot of strong opinions about the black section, but I feel like a lot of this is pretty spot on to where it should be. Seeing Pack Red at 9th is awesome. That was just a big mistake of them printing it, but it goes great in the cube environment. And when you're looking at these top 10 cards, what makes you want to play black? Like Liliana and Bob, Recurring Nightmare, Grave Titan, and Pack Rat. Like, those are the cards that want to make you go heavy black out of the top 10. So I think giving it another card that makes you want to play heavy black is really sweet, because you can splash for the Mind Twist or the Demonic Tutor or even the Thoughtseize or Reanimate. But having these other cards in the top 10 that make you want to play heavy black is really nice. So that's a summary of my black section. I'll be back here with the other section soon.